Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Roger, and today we're going to be breaking down what mobility to run on your Blink Warlock. I've seen a lot of confusion and discourse about this topic, and I think it's time to end the debate. One of my viewers, Minnie, gave me some info on this topic a while ago, and I finally had the time to get around to making the video, so shout out to them. Before I just outright tell you a number to aim for, I would like to break mobility down and cover exactly what it does and how certain things interact with it. Let's start with going over exactly what mobility will and won't do for you. Mobility will affect your walk speed, strafe speed, sneak speed, and jump height. Higher tiers of mobility will not affect your sprint speed, although there are some things that will. The first thing that will affect your sprint speed is hitting the like button. It's a little known fact, but doing so will actually give you a 1,000,000% speed boost. As for the other things that affect sprint speed, we have lightweight framed weapons and certain exotic armor pieces. Let's start with lightweight frame weapons. Any lightweight frame weapon will give you a plus 20 to your mobility when you have it equipped. Remember that this means it is actively in your hands and you won't receive this bonus while the weapon is stowed. So, if we were at 60 mobility and equipped a Retro Futurist, for example, we would jump to 80 mobility while the weapon is out. Now, lightweight weapons also do affect your sprint speed. They will give you a 6.25% boost to your sprint speed, and this boost does apply even at 100 mobility. So, you could be at 80 mobility and equip a lightweight frame weapon and go to 100 mobility and have a 6.25% sprint speed increase. There is another thing that can increase your sprint speed, and that is exotic armor pieces, such as transversive steps. They will also give a 6.25% sprint speed buff, and when combined with a lightweight frame weapon, you can reach the max sprint speed buff, which is 12.5%. Now, I wouldn't recommend running any exotic over Astrosight Verse, but I did want to inform you in case you didn't know. Moving on from there, let's talk about how mobility affects your other parts of your movement. When it comes to sliding, your mobility will have no effect on your slide distance. Next up is walking. Now, it should be clarified that walking is only non-sprinting forward movement. Walking speeds will increase with each tier of mobility, and lightweight frames and movement exotics will have the same 6.25% speed increase on walking speeds. Any movement that isn't forward walking, so walking side to side or backwards, is considered strafing. Strafing speeds are 85% as fast as walking speeds, but don't derive their speed directly from your walking speed. Instead, they also improve with each tier of mobility you gain. But it should be known that things that buff your walking speed, such as lightweight frames, will not buff your strafe speeds. That is to say, you will get the benefit of strafing faster with a lightweight weapon from the extra tiers mobility, but the 6.25% walk speed and sprint buff does not apply to strafing speed. Next up, we will talk about sneaking. Sneaking speeds are directly connected to your walking and strafing speed. Therefore, any buffs that apply to those types of movement will apply to sneaking speeds. So, lightweight weapons, for example, give their percent increase for sneaking speeds. Sneaking speed is capped out at 4 meters per second, and this is almost accomplished simply by being at 10 mobility. If you were to be at 8 mobility and had a lightweight weapon on, then you would reach the capped out sneaking speed. The last thing that we are going to cover is jump height. Now, jump height is directly tied to the tier of mobility you have, and if you had 80 mobility equipped with a lightweight frame weapon, it would put you to 100 mobility and give you max jump height. Now that you know how each aspect of your movement is affected by your mobility, let's talk about how it affects your blink and how much mobility you should run. So we are finally here. Let's break this down. I have tried many different levels of mobility in the past few months, and I have landed on what I think the perfect range for the stat is. That perfect range is anywhere from 50 to 80 mobility. Being anywhere in this range is going to give you enough strafe and walking speeds to operate well in gunfights, but won't be possibly harmful to you in situations where you need to use your blink for rotations or escape. If you are at all confused, the biggest reason we don't want to run anything above 80 mobility is that the jump height is simply too high and will more often than not end up screwing us over. The longer it takes you to be able to get to the top of your jump means the longer it's taking you to be able to perform a forward blink. If you don't know what a forward blink is, then check out my video on blink terminology. I will have that on the end screen. Back to our point though, the longer you are hanging in midair, the longer your enemy has a free target to shoot down, and the longer it takes to get to the top of your jump, the longer it takes to pull off the forward blink. With a mobility of anywhere in our acceptable range of 50 to 80, this will not be as much of a problem. The other big thing is that we want to be able to use our blink in enclosed spaces. By that, I mean places with lower ceilings and low doorways. I think one of the hardest things for people to get used to with Blink is enclosed spaces, like these, but with a lower mobility, we can start to come down from our jump faster and get through these lower areas much easier. So that is our reasoning for being in this mobility range, but I do want to add some things. Remember earlier that we talked a lot about lightweight frame weapons and how they add to your mobility. Keep in mind with these weapons that you will be getting that extra 20 mobility. So when you plan to run a lightweight weapon, make sure you bring your stats in line and match with it. If you are at 70 or 80, then that weapon will shoot you up to 90 or 100 mobile. So keep that in mind. And keep your stats correctly lined up. I would say personally, I am running a lightweight frame shotgun about 80% of the time that I play. And usually, I keep my own mobility around 50 to 60 and almost never above 60. However, I do think that up to 80 can be acceptable and beneficial. Just don't go above that, as I think that anywhere above 80 is where it starts to become disadvantageous. I would also like to add that sometimes you don't need to blink and can simply jump up and grapple a ledge, but from what I have experienced, a mobility anywhere in our range will be enough to make most jumps without blink and still let you jump high enough to grapple most ledges. Well, now we can put the debate to rest. I have been wanting to make this one for a while, but I wanted to run several different levels of mobility myself for a couple months before I decided on a solid answer, which led me to these conclusions. If you enjoyed and found this video informative, then I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe. And if you want to join Blink conversations with fellow Blink Warlocks, then join the Blinkville Discord server, which I'll have linked in the description. For now, I'm going to equip my multi-mock and run away approximately 6.25% faster. Have a great day, Guardians.